street.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Ashley Perrien, and my co-host this week, Jeff D. Welcome back.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you for coming. This is the Atheist Experience, and we are live today, August 8th, and we're being sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday at Crescent City Beignets from 11:30, and that is on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar. I think it's 1211 6th Street. Again, that starts at 11:30 and goes until typically around 1, 2 o'clock, that type time frame. Any atheists, atheist-friendly people, more than welcome to come down and meet some of us. We've been having pretty good turnouts for the last couple weeks, but we can always use more people. So if you want to come down, please do. Other things that we normally do, well, actually, I keep forgetting. That's every Sunday, save the third Sunday of the month when we have our lecture series at the Austin History Center on 9th and Guadalupe.
And that'll be next week.
Next Sunday is we are having Shannon Raw come in and talk about the current health textbooks hearings that are going on. She's going to give us an update on exactly what's going on with that whole situation, when the hearings are, where the books stand, all the details like that. Should be very interesting. That's something that we are somewhat involved in. A couple members did go and gave testimonies the last hearings, and I believe the next ones are going to be next month, or the final ones are next month. So that is the third Sunday of every month, which next week is August 15th. And that's at the Austin History Center, 9th and Guadalupe, starting at 12:30. Other regular things that we do, every Thursday we have Atheist Happy Hour at Antonio's Tex-Mex on the southbound feeder of I-35, just south of 183. That starts at 7:30 and goes until basically we leave. It's very similar to the Sunday. It's just people sitting around talking, having a good time. Any atheist-friendly people, more than welcome to come meet us. Also, every other Saturday on the Non-Profits, we have an internet audio show called The Non-Profits, which is hosted by our own Jeff D. and co-hosted by Dennis Lubay.
Yes.
And producer is Russell Glasser. The next show is going to be this upcoming Saturday, the 14th, I believe. Yes.
That's right.
And that's mostly news, reviews, analysts, atheist perspective on things. Commentary on the world today.
Jokes. Occasional sound effects.
Yes. Live. Also, they have the Java, I believe it is, chat room.
Yes, there is a live. There's a live chat channel on atheistnetwork.com where you can get in there while we're broadcasting live and actually interact with other people listening to the show, and we monitor that during the show and take comments and suggestions and things from there. It's way keen.
Yeah. Excellent show. That's every other Saturday at it's atheistnetwork.com from 2 to 3:30. Non-profits. That is it for our regular announcements. We are a live show. We're going to be getting to calls in a little bit. We'll put the phone number up when we're ready, I believe. For now, what we're going to do is go over to Jeff D., find out what he's got for us, and then gift dollars.
Now, I think on your last show, you guys talked about this incident that happened recently in Florida.
Yes.
Where an atheist was invited to deliver a city council's opening invocation, and some members of the council walked out.
Yep.
For those of you who may not have heard about this, it was a week ago Thursday. 3 council members walked out rather than hear an invocation from a man who doesn't believe in God. Council members Kevin White, Mary Alvarez, and Rose Ferlita left their seats rather than listen to Michael R. Harvey, a member of Atheists of Florida who had been invited by council member John Dingfelder to offer the invocation. Even before Harvey began to speak, White was pushing to cancel the invocation. "These are sacred moments that refer to a supreme being," White said, "and this speaker is an atheist." White's motion to cancel the invocation failed 2-4, supported only by him and Alvarez. She called White very brave for making this effort. I just can't sit here and listen to someone who does not believe in a supreme being. Now that shocks me.
I know. You can't even listen to.
Aren't they aware that, like, roughly 1 in 7 people in the U.S. doesn't believe in a supreme being?
Yep.
What, does she have a little meter for detecting them? Somebody starts talking, hold on.
Atheometer.
No. Okay, go ahead. I can listen to you. You believe in God. Dingfelder said his invitation to Harvey started with a neighborhood talk. He often met Ed Golly, president of Atheists of Florida, around South Tampa. Golly needled him that the invocation violated the separation of church and state. I agree you should have equal time, Dingfelder told him. I'll set it up. Harvey said he'd been fielding reporters' questions for days ever since news of the invitation broke earlier this month. On Thursday morning, Dingfelder introduced Harvey without mentioning his membership in Atheists of Florida. Then White stepped in. Harvey should make his speech during the audience portion of the meeting, he said, when people have 3 minutes to address the council. What you are proposing is a form of censorship, Dingfelder replied, and he said he was not told in advance what Harvey planned to say. The city council belongs to everybody, regardless of what they believe in or don't believe in, Dingfelder said, his face getting flushed, because that is what our nation was built on, and that is what our soldiers overseas are fighting for.
Exactly.
Later that day, Harvey said he expected controversy, but not the hostility that he faced. Harvey said he was particularly disappointed that White, Alvarez, and Ferlita walked out, calling their actions a discriminatory gesture. Later, White agreed that he was taking a stand. Listening to an atheist even one time could unleash a snowball effect on government. He compared it to having unprotected sex.
Listening to an atheist.
Yeah.
And unprotected sex. Wow.
Now, I hope all of our viewers out there are prepared to experience what it's like to have unprotected sex, because I have the text of Michael Harvey's speech with me, and I'm going to read it to you right now.
So if you need some mental latex, now's the time to put it on.
Yeah, pull your mind condoms on. This is the opening invocation delivered by Michael R. Harvey of Atheists of Florida at the meeting of the Tampa City Council. An invocation is an appeal for guidance from a supernatural power, but it is not only that. It is also a call, a petition, a positive action on behalf of and for a diverse citizenry. On behalf of Atheists of Florida, I would like to express our gratitude for being invited to deliver today's invocation. You can see he's already, there's already danger here.
Yeah.
He's thanking them. We are committed to the separation of church and state as defined by the United States Constitution. It is a core value of that remarkable and visionary document to protect the human-derived rights of all people in a continuous struggle for equal opportunities to pursue a safe and decent quality of life. Once again, you see, he's way out of control now, defending the Constitution.
Guy's a frickin' nut job.
When an invocation takes on the form of public prayer, it is also a violation of the very principles on which our country and Constitution are founded. Although we are dismayed that the practice of public prayer by governing bodies charged with representing all citizens still continues in violation of the Constitution, we also recognize that this practice has become deeply embedded in the national psyche. So there, where he's, trying to express that he understands how much this means to people.
Exactly.
Right? And trying to be conciliatory.
Exactly.
That's just absolutely terrible.
Of course.
Anybody got any sexually transmitted diseases yet from this?
Keep going.
Elected and appointed leaders who wish to seek the guidance of a deity can do so in private, as is their right, but not in the public arena where the establishment of religion is an assured end result. History, that ever-flowing, ever-unfolding story of human civilization, teaches us that the rights and accomplishments of humanity are the results of its past struggles, and that the road less traveled is many times the highest path to human progress. We therefore invoke this council and all of our leaders to be guided and inspired by the invaluable lessons of history, the honest insights of science, the guileless wisdom of logic, and the heart and soul of our shared humanity, compassion, and tolerance.
So
I can see why they walked out.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable that anybody would ask, for compassion and tolerance.
History and science to look towards those things.
So rather than clasping your hands, bowing your heads, or closing your eyes, open your arms to that which truly makes us strong, our diversity. Raise your heads and open your eyes to recognize and fully understand the problems before you, and know that ultimately solutions to human problems can only come from human beings.
Excellent.
That was the invocation that's
Solutions to human problems.
Christians around our great nation in a fuming frenzy.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I would expect Christians to disagree with some aspects of this.
Of course.
But then they've had Jewish people speak before their council.
Most likely Muslim, stuff like that.
Yes, a wide range of different religions, which the Christians believe are false religions.
Yeah.
On what basis is this somehow a horrible travesty that just breaks the boundaries of common sense?
Yeah.
And is comparable to having unprotected sex. I just can't hardly deal with it. I mean, what are they talking about? So that's that. Now, do I still got some time?
Of course.
In other news, there's another thing that came out recently in the same vein. The Democratic National Committee appointed a advisor for religious outreach. And the Catholic League got wind of this and went ballistic. Why, you ask? Well, let's hear us. Here's their own words. Democratic National Committee Chairman Terry McAuliffe announced the appointment of Reverend Brenda Bartella Peterson as the senior advisor for religious outreach. Okay, so right there, it's a reverend. We're not talking about an atheist.
Yeah.
She is an ordained minister in the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. Commenting on her selection is Catholic League President William Donahue. Terry McAuliffe says that the appointment of Reverend Peterson as the new senior advisor for religious outreach reflects the DNC's commitment to reaching all people of faith. He also notes that she will act as liaison to religious organizations. Upon learning of this appointment, we decided to find out who this woman is. And what we found...
Who this woman is.
Yeah. And what we found will make people of every faith wonder whether McAuliffe and the DNC have totally lost their minds. This is the Catholic League now.
Yes.
Reverend Brenda Bartella Peterson is one of 32 clergy members to file an amicus curiae brief on behalf of Michael Newdow's attempt to excise the words "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone inhale.
The brief shows infinitely more concern for the sensibilities of atheists like Newdow than it does for the 90% of Americans who believe in God. First, I got to correct his math there. That is, in fact, according to recent surveys, that is, in fact, more like 83%. But still, it's a lot.
Yes.
Point taken. And this is the person the Democrats want to dispatch to meet with the heads of religious organizations? Are they out of their minds? Would they hire a gay basher to reach out to homosexuals?
She's a reverend.
No, he thinks she's a religion basher. Why does he think...
A reverend who's a religion basher.
Yeah,
wow.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
It's comparable to hiring a gay basher to talk to homosexual organizations. Now, I have here the first 4 pages of the actual amicus brief filed in the Newdow case by this group that he refers to, of 32 clergy members, not atheists, who supported the case to remove the pledge from the Constitution.
Again, religious folks.
This is available on the internet. It was available to the Catholic League.
Yeah. That's a list of all the clergy.
There's the Supreme Court part.
Yeah.
And there's all the clergy members, not atheists, clergy members who are, in the eyes of the Catholic League, comparable to gay bashers talking to.
Yes.
Okay. So let me just read the opening few paragraphs of this, where apparently what happened was this was filed just a wee teensy bit late, or the defense in the case didn't reply in time or something. I'm not quite sure about the details, so these first few paragraphs are a justification written by those people submitting the brief, right? Justification to the Supreme Court why the court ought to accept this brief, even though the defense have not acknowledged it and said, yeah, okay,
gotcha.
Say that, right? 32 named Christian and Jewish clergy, together with the Unitarian Universalist Association, a religious organization with more than 1,000 congregations. So wait a minute, we've just gone from 32 clergy members to at least 1,032 clergy members. These are the people who, according to the Catholic League...
Over 1,000 congregations.
Yeah, there was 1,000 congregations. Each congregation's probably got at least one minister, right?
At least one
So
minister.
I'm figuring 32 plus 1,000 minimum.
Yes.
And this is the brief that shows more concern for the sensibilities of atheists than for people that believe in God, right? 1,032 minimum clergy members signed on to this brief. Move for leave to file a brief of amicus curiae in support of respondent Michael A. Newdow. Copies of the proposed brief are submitted with this motion. The United States has consented to the filing of this brief. Respondent Michael A. Newdow has consented to the filing of this brief. Their consent letters are submitted with this motion. The petitioners, Elk Grove Unified School District and David W. Gordon, both represented by Mr. Terrence J. Cassidy, neglected to send a timely consent letter. Based on repeated conversations with Mr. Cassidy's personal secretary, counsel for the proposed amici believes that the Elk Grove petitioners have no actual obligation to the filing of this brief. Mr. Cassidy's secretary indicated only that he wanted a more detailed list of the amici joining in the proposed brief.
Okay.
So this was held up. Now I understand it. This was held up because the lawyers against removing Under God from the pledge wanted the names of the people in support of this brief spelled out more clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting, then, that is the basis on which the Catholic League attacked that female.
We want to know who to go after.
Counsel for the proposed amici sent that list by fax, and receipt of the fax was confirmed electronically. Counsel for the proposed amici believes that the Elk Grove petitioners intended to consent, but that they neglected to timely provide that consent in writing. The proposed amici, it must be amici, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, are a distinguished group of Christian and Jewish clergy, many of them leaders in their respective denominations or in interdenominational organizations, together with a religious denomination that has played an important historic role in the development of religious liberty in the United States. These amici are represented by experienced counsel who is an academic expert in the field of law at issue in this case, and who has appeared in this court as counsel for parties or amici on many occasions. The proposed amici offer a distinct perspective that is not, to the best of counsel's knowledge, presented to the court in any other brief. The clergy joining in the proposed brief are leaders in the monotheistic religions that are the intended beneficiaries of the religious content of the Pledge of Allegiance. These amici do not want government imposing their religious beliefs on children whose parents teach other beliefs.
A relatively important sentence.
Yeah. Now notice, it does not say, these guys want to support this case because they love atheists.
Yeah.
It says they don't want their own religious beliefs, as represented by the phrase under God in the Pledge of Allegiance, pushed on anybody by the government in the pledge.
Exactly.
More distinctively, these amici are profoundly alarmed by the many briefs arguing, these are on the other side of the case now, the guys in favor of keeping Under God in the Pledge. They're profoundly alarmed by the many briefs arguing that the religious content of the pledge is not to be taken seriously, and that it should be interpreted as merely historical, or demographic, or secular, or some other strained theory. Such arguments attempt to strip the religious meaning from one of the most fundamental of religious propositions. This is the brief that the Catholic League says shows more interest in the sensibilities of atheists than it does in those of Christians. This is the brief that what was her name again? That Reverend Brenda Bartella Peterson signed on to, and that on the basis of which she has been forced to quit the position she was appointed to by the Democratic National Committee.
Yes.
This brief. The proposed brief explains, from a religious perspective, why the government should not request a religious affirmation from school children each morning, regardless of whether the government does or does not take that affirmation seriously. The proposed brief also considers the possibility that this court might uphold the religious content of the pledge, despite the arguments against that. The proposed brief outlines the narrowest possible ground for upholding the religious content of the pledge, the grounds that would do the least damage to surrounding principles of religious liberty. So while they agree that it is bad policy for the government to get into the religion business and then try to stay in the religion business by saying, oh no, when we talk about God there, that doesn't mean anything. They go on to say, but if you're gonna decide that it's okay for that to stay in, which you may well, then here's our advice on how to keep that as, from make that do as little damage as possible.
Yes.
Because the proposed brief offers a distinctive perspective on behalf of serious amici represented by experienced counsel, and because the lack of consent appears to be a result from a failure of communication or a lawyer's busy schedule, the 32 named Christian and Jewish clergy and the United Universalist Association request to file the amicus brief that accompanies this motion. Now, the whole thing is 45 pages long, so that's enough. But
sounds...
entirely
reasonable.
These two things have something in common. Christians are freaking out about anything said by or in favor of atheist viewpoints without bothering to actually read what it is they're objecting to.
Yes.
If they had read this, they could not say things like, the brief shows infinitely more concern for the sensibilities of atheists like Newdow.
Yeah.
And this is the person the Democrats want to dispatch to meet the heads of religious organizations? Where in here is there the slightest hint that she's got any bone to pick with the heads of religious organizations?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they out of their minds? Well, no. Actually, it was perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
It is entirely reasonable for some religious people to object to the phrase under God in the Pledge of Allegiance for their own reasons, as outlined in that brief. Would they hire a gay basher to reach out to homosexuals? Now, where is the bashing of religion in this brief?
Yeah.
How is that analogous?
Now, to be fair, we didn't actually read the brief, so I don't know if you actually...
I did read the brief.
Did you look over it?
I mean, it just goes and repeats the same outlines that are...
a little more meat to it, yeah.
Yeah, it repeats the same arguments that are outlined in that introduction.
Yeah.
In detail. I mean, the details don't... There's no devil in those details.
Just like in Florida, if they had actually read what he was going to say, which granted was not public, but
they didn't even wait.
Exactly.
They walked out when he started talking.
Before he said anything, rather than waiting for him to actually say something that was controversial or mean-spirited or anti-religious or whatever. They just walked out beforehand.
And we keep trying to explain this to Christians. We have no objection to them believing whatever it is they want.
Yeah.
At least apart from, philosophically, if you want to argue with us about what makes sense, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But legally speaking, we got no problem. Believe whatever you want.
Yeah.
We are not here to destroy your way of life. We are not here to destroy your religion. We're not here even to take over the country and run your churches out of business. We're just not. We don't care. We are here, like on this show, and in front of the Supreme Court and in front of city councils in Florida. Yeah. We are here to participate in our nation and take steps to make sure that our own rights are upheld as much as yours.
Yeah. The government should represent us just as much as it does you.
That's all there is to it.
Perfectly fair.
Relax, Christians. If there's any Christians listening to this show, please relax. Wait and listen to what we have to say. Wait and listen to what your fellow theists have to say on our behalf before freaking out and assuming that we're trying to destroy everything that you hold dear. We're just not. Okay. It's my rant for the day. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Again, this is a live call-in show. We are live today, August 8th, and welcome calls from anybody who's watching the show. First, we have got, talking about the Florida possibly, we have got Mark. How you doing?
Good. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Pretty well.
Big supporter of the show. I just wanted to make a comment, or actually present some questions to those three council members and anyone really who parallels their beliefs, and as well as Christians who oppose atheistic views. And I'll use those three council members as to put these questions toward. But I'm just curious if these people, if they like movies, if they've ever walked out of a Jack Nicholson film, a Katharine Hepburn film, if they're a fan of Ingmar Bergman or Charlie Chaplin, or if they've ever seen a Stanley Kubrick film, they've ever seen the Superman movies with Christopher Reeves, a Richard Burton film. These are all confirmed atheists. And you know, is someone going to walk out of The Shining because those are his beliefs? Are they going to turn Billy Joel off the radio when he comes on because he's a confirmed atheist? Are they going to turn down Currency with Susan B. Anthony's face on the front of it? Are they not going to read W. Somerset Maugham or Gore Vidal or Thoreau, Orwell, Chomsky, Mark Twain? Are they going to close those books when they find out that these people are confirmed atheists and those are their beliefs? Are they not going to listen to Einstein or Carl Sagan, what they have to say? Are they going to turn 60 Minutes off because Andy Rooney has a commentary? Are they going to oppose Dick Cavett and not watch reruns of his show? I mean, there's so many atheists out there, and for them to walk out on someone who was invited to their council meeting, they really have no business being there then. And I just wanted to present those questions because it's just ridiculous, you know. And it's like, I like what you said. Do they have a meter like, okay, you know, oh, okay, you can go ahead and talk? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I wanted to present these confirmed people, and I know that a lot of them are writers and entertainment business, but it's just, if they're going to do that, then they shouldn't, you know, watch a Nicholson movie. They shouldn't watch an old Charlie Chaplin film. They should, you know, it's just, I just wanted to make that point, basically.
Yeah.
You're right. I hope now, after hearing your list, which is a tiny fraction of all
tiny
celebrities that have,
you know, it's trying to present some people that, you know, are, you know, everyone would know, you know. So.
And let's make it clear, this is not an argument from authority. Just because some celebrities are atheists doesn't mean atheism is right. That's not what you're saying.
No,
what
not
at all. What you're saying is,
they're the minority, if anything.
How do these people live?
Yeah.
How do they live?
Given that the quote from them is, I can't stand to hear an atheist speak.
I just can't sit here and listen to someone that does not believe in a supreme being.
I know, and so out of the list of people that I mentioned,
she can because
some of those people can't tell me that they haven't seen a Jack Nicholson movie. Some, you know, and I'm presenting these certain people because we all know who they are, and they are the minority. There's, you know, but it's just I just kind of want to point out how ridiculous it is, and those three persons on that council have no business being there, you know. But that's all I want to say, guys.
They've got that business.
Yeah. Now, it would be nice if they had slightly more open views and could accept that maybe not everyone they represent is a fundamentalist Christian or whatever, you know, sect they happen to be. It would be nice if they were a little more inclusive, because they do include, again, Jewish, Muslim,
right?
Everyone else who came in
all the time.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. That's their job.
What would be great is if those three people, or, you know, if they could admit, like, you know what, we were wrong. You know, it was wrong of us to watch. Yeah. If people like that could just admit, like, golly, after thinking about it and talking about it and talking to my family and other people, that was really wrong to do that, you know. And some people do things out of the heat of the moment, the passion of the moment.
Exactly.
And, we don't always make the right decisions, but if they could just admit that it was a wrong thing to do, then, the speaker, the gentleman there, would be more than forgiving, I'm sure. It's just admitting that, we
messed up like everybody else does.
Exactly. So. But thanks, guys. I love the show, and hopefully talk to you later on. So.
Okay. Thanks a lot for calling.
Bye-bye.
If they could have looked back and saw what he actually said after they had left, look at what he actually said and go back over that and say,
I wonder if they've seen it by now.
Sure they have. They probably don't care. They still say that we were right to walk out, and, we shouldn't have to hear some damned atheist speak now.
Yeah.
Wrong accent.
They had a similar problem in Nazi Germany, where a lot of Nazis didn't want to listen to anything Jews had to say.
Yeah.
So they came up with these great armbands.
Yep. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's my fear. We read them a list of actors and thinkers and poets and commentators who happen to not believe in a God, and the reaction is, well, no, now they won't listen to those people. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. Just like they had, that's true, a couple weeks back. Somewhat off topic, but still somewhat relevant here. Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, she was doing advertising, essentially, for, I think it was Slim Fast. She had made some snide remarks during the Democratic convention, or some Democratic meeting, I can't remember, that basically made some jokes about Bush. They stopped supporting her. Slim Fast kicked her off their campaign, which, unfortunately, given how the world is today and how people react today, I can kind of understand them doing that. But the fact that somebody's going to look to a comedian for their political views is ridiculous. I don't go to Whoopi Goldberg and say, who should I vote for in November? She's a comedian.
Right.
You'll look to someone who's actually into politics to see what they say.
Yeah.
So let's look to people who actually know what they're talking about.
I agree.
On a topic to figure out what your position should be. So.
Well, you kind of need to listen to a whole bunch of people carefully and evaluate their words on their merits.
Yes.
Rather than on the basis of what some people you already know that you think know what they're talking about say. For example, your pastor. A lot of the problem with people not wanting to listen to atheists comes from the fact that it is widely believed by otherwise wonderfully nice religious people that atheists like us are inherently evil and out to get you. And somebody's telling you that I assume it's got to be your pastors, because I don't know where else it's coming from.
Certainly not from this show.
I'm over and over.
Anyway, again, if you have any questions or comments, please call us up. We are live today. Phone number is on your screen. We have got, I believe, Kay?
Yes.
Hi, Kay.
Yes, how you doing?
Hi, I was just listening to your broadcast, and first of all, let me clear up that atheists do not frighten Christians. We don't run from you, we pray for you. And
atheists don't pray for Christians, but
number two is the three that walked out.
Yeah.
This is America. They have the freedom to hear. They have the freedom to leave. So instead of kind of throwing stones at them, realize that you are in America and you have the right to do. Just like you have the right to be an atheist and be what you want to be, they have the right to be Christians as well. One thing we stand for, whether I am a Christian, and one thing I know in the end, great is he that is in me than he that is in this world. So I stand for Jesus. I would never walk out on a speech by an atheist. The only job I would do is to say, Lord, change their nature.
Got a response.
Word in edgewise.
And that's what I would do.
Okay.
And you be blessed. Bye-bye.
No, hang on, ma'am.
No,
I have a question for you. Okay. I'll just respond now. Maybe she still got the TV
Off air.
on. She had 2 points. One was Christians don't run away from atheists. Well, what was that? What was that? I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to respond to what you had to say, and you didn't want to hear it. That's running away. And when it's 3 Christian council members in Florida walking out on an atheist who has something to say, that's running away. What else do you call it? I mean, I agree with you. That is a fine principle. Don't run away from what other people have to say. Stop and listen to them. Right?
Maybe they'll make some
you're
sense.
Right. You're right. You have a right to walk away and not listen. You do. But when you say things like, I can't sit here and listen to somebody who doesn't believe in God, as if not believing in God makes somebody a horrible person, you are making a statement, or that council member was making a statement about the speaker.
Yes.
And, you know,
assuming that speaker can have absolutely nothing of value to say simply because they don't believe in God.
Yeah.
That's an assumption that you should not make. I can understand that if they had issues saying, I don't agree, I don't believe atheism is the correct way to go, I think there's a God, and so on. And having issues with how he presented his speech and his talk, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But just saying, I can't even bear to listen to him.
Yeah. That's a statement
That's
that
crossing the line.
I am going to run away from what that atheist has to say because I can't bear to listen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, that shoots down your point number 1.
Yeah.
Which, of the 2 points he had to make, I think that's just as valid.
Yeah.
So, oh well, we don't want you to run away from us. We want you to take a moment, listen to what we say, and have a dialogue. But
Exactly.
we can't do that if you're going to get up and walk out of council meetings where we have something to say,
Yeah.
or hang up on us on our show when we have something to say. How does that get us anywhere? How does that get anybody anywhere? You know,
Exactly.
we're in this country together. We ought to be communicating.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Unless of course she was one going to South Carolina, in which case they can secede out. That's fine.
I support the right of Christian fundamentalists who want to move to South Carolina and take it over and pass their own laws. I support that. I also support, inevitably, when they decide to secede, I support letting them go.
Exactly.
But then I support building a big wall around them. If that's what they want to do, that's fine.
Exactly. All right. We have still got more callers. Again, this is a live call-in show. Phone number is on your screen. Please go ahead and give us a call and let us know what you got in your mind. We have got, let's see. John, how you doing?
Hi, how y'all doing?
Are you there?
What y'all doing?
We can't hear John.
Yeah, we're extremely low volume. Control
Can
room.
you hear me now?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, what's up?
So, well, curious about your example about the Christians running away from the atheists. That there is a certain grease and water type thing there, because it seems to me that the atheist experience is more a scientific, or an anti-something. And the Christian idea, even though it tries to claim creationism as science for its branch, it really is more of a moral philosophy, for lack of a better word. So it's like both of them are, they just don't. It's not that they don't. It's not that one hates the other, and one is sweet and one is sour. It's completely two different ideas entirely, and it would seem to me that is sometimes my experience when I'm having to deal with Christians is that they what they want is that moral structure, that moral type thing, and unfortunately, I don't see how you can get that from a atheistic viewpoint.
Okay. Yeah, Christians like to have structure, typically.
I like to have structure. That's not a fair thing to say.
Well,
everybody likes structure, I think.
Okay, bit broad, perhaps.
You're talking about morality, though, right?
Exactly, but it's comforting to think that you can have absolutes. Killing is bad, period, and know that these are things that you should never do, and if you do these things, these are always good. Helping out people is always a good thing. Killing people, always a bad thing. It's nice if you can have those kind of rules. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way. what we can present as an alternative, perhaps, again, you were saying, how can you have any kind of moral structure from an atheist viewpoint, is by looking at the world around us, looking at people, looking at actions having consequences, knowing that if I hurt somebody, chances are it's going to come back at me in some way. Be it, I'm not saying this roundabout, good things come back in mysterious ways, but that if I go and steal somebody's car, they're going to be pissed. Chances are they're going to try and come back at me some way. If they catch me, they're going to club me. Not necessarily a good thing. If I steal something, likely going to jail. Not necessarily a good thing. We have to live in a society. We're a social species. We live together.
But isn't that a bit overly, animalistic, almost just caveman, operational behavior or whatever? I mean, it's so...
Not necessarily, no. Not necessarily, no.
It doesn't seem...
Yes.
On the other side of the coin, if we're concerned that we don't want people taking our stuff, then we support those very laws that Ashley was talking about that will punish us just as much as our neighbor for taking stuff that doesn't belong to us.
Exactly.
Right. So, it's not simply a, don't do crimes because you're afraid to get hurt. It's also support the laws that are going to punish people that do crimes, because we can recognize that those laws benefit us too. It's not just some simplistic, I don't want to get hit over the head kind of thing.
Well, do you find many atheists subscribe to a libertarian philosophy?
I
politically
find that,
speaking?
Yeah.
Yep.
I do. I don't personally, but I do find that a lot of atheists do.
They seem to lack compassion in the heart sense. And like I said, again, I do believe in a scientific way of understanding the world.
Yeah.
But again, it's that spirituality that I'm not suggesting any kind of God, but there seems to be a call for it.
Is that what you meant by moral structure, is spirituality? Because you didn't use that word before.
Eventually the moral structure, I guess, develops a spirituality. I don't know how that works exactly.
First, I don't want to get sidetracked on a thing about libertarians right now, if we don't have to. But on that subject, I'm personally not comfortable with the term spirituality. I know a lot of atheists who look for real phenomenon that they can hang that word on, and to me, that's just confusing the issue. But positive emotions are good. Peace and happiness are good. A lot, the things generally described as spiritual feelings or motives and stuff. I'm all in favor of that. I just don't think it has anything to do with actual ghosts or spirits or stuff.
What would you, if you were training if you had a kid?
Yeah.
And again, I can't stress the importance of how I believe in science completely. But if you had a kid, how do you teach these, the ideas, emotional ideas of love, emotional ideas of
these are natural human emotions. You don't need. No one has to teach you that you should, be friends with people and that you should have emotion. That's not a learned response. That's built in. That's part of the hardware, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, emotions are not something that's learned. Now, how do you teach them morality? How do you teach them to be a good person?
Right, more complicated ideas. Right.
That's a valid thing. Again, actions having consequences. Do you want another kid to do that to you? This is what kids do when they are around, when they're young. They start off just interacting with themselves and stuff like that, but then when they start going to school, they start pushing each other around, biting each other, taking each other's toys, and eventually you take everybody else's toys. You don't have any friends of your own, and that kind of sucks. And so they learn that you can't do that. If you want to have friends, you're going to have to share a little bit. This is not something that, you bring them to Sunday school and pastors sit down and say, you should share. They don't take that lesson. That's simply reinforcing what they've learned from their playmates at recess. by saying that you've got to share, otherwise you're not going to have any friends.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, adults will still mention these things,
of course,
periodically, and
because we've learned
to the concepts, but
we've learned them through experience.
Yeah, there's nothing mystical about. Well, we don't think there's anything mystical about where rules of proper behavior come from, and 90% of it is genetic, behavioral stuff we've inherited from our ancestors. I also want to add, because I think you're sort of getting here eventually, is that there are a number of different non-theistic ethical systems that philosophers have come up with over the years. I'm not a philosopher, and I don't want to get myself in trouble by rattling off the names of them and getting them wrong, but I have encountered these on a number of cases. My own personal one is, as just to repeat what Ashley said, I recognize that my actions have consequences. Some of those consequences are indirect, like if I go around doing crimes, I'm competing to a cultural climate where crimes take place. And that's a little bit, but I think it's as significant as, like, say, voting. That would be me making a vote in favor of having a culture where that's the way people behave. If I don't want to live in a culture where that's the way people behave, I shouldn't act that way, and so I don't. But you might want to look into. There's an excellent book called what's Kruger's book on atheism? Do you know the title off the top of your head? Anybody? But I think it's just What is Atheism? The author's name is Kruger, Kreuger. If you look that up, he goes through a chapter talking about various non-theistic ethical systems.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for calling. All right. Again, we've got a little while left in the show. Phone number will be on your screen eventually. Let's go on to, let's see, Robbie. How you doing?
Hello. Hey,
Hi,
those
Robbie.
people that were in Florida on the city council, aren't they elected to their position?
Yes.
Then if they don't like some of the people in their area, they don't like what they have to say, they walk out too? They don't listen to anybody, right? That would be
they could walk out on other people, yes.
Yeah, they could walk out on everybody because they didn't like what they had to say before they said it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and that is, I don't know the legalities of a city council meeting. I think it's poor form to walk out on somebody that has time in front of your city council meeting
that you are actually representing.
But that previous caller, made a point. We aren't forced in this country to listen to people we don't want to listen to. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But there's more than one principle in hand here, and the other one, the not running away from people before you've heard what they actually have to say. That.
In other words, they could do it to anybody.
That is also a valid principle.
They could do it to anybody within the city if they just didn't like whether they liked them.
I guess so.
Yep.
I guess
That's
so.
the most stupid thing I've ever heard of.
Well, again, going back, they have the right to not listen to whatever they want.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I certainly hope that the people that voted for him will recognize that that's the kind of person they voted for. Sadly,
exactly.
Until
after the
people
fact.
get a lot more comfortable with the idea that, wow, we exist in a country where people don't always agree with us. Until that happens, odds are that their supporters are just going to support them more because they were mean to an atheist.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Can I make another comment about that previous caller?
Okay.
I just always love to harp on this one thing. He started off not the caller we just had, the one before.
John on morality.
Yeah. He said, it's like oil and water. It's not that one hates the other. I gotta take exception to that. I'm sorry. I've heard Christians over and over and over saying that they don't hate us.
Yeah.
But they worship a God who, according to their religious book, will happily see us tortured forever just because we're not Christians. And, you can call that love, but if you call that love, I got to say you don't understand what love is. So, that's my point.
If you're going to support somebody who will torture us for all eternity,
then
that's not a good thing.
We actually don't hate Christians. We disagree with their conclusions about the nature of reality.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
The worst thing we can say about Christians is we think they believe something silly. The worst thing Christians can say about us is we deserve to be tortured forever and they worship the guy that made it so.
All right, let's go on and take more callers. We have got, let's see, Tom, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty well.
Oh, pretty good. I believe one of the basic places you can get morality from is we judge people. Humans judge people. That's just in our nature. And you know the biblical thing of judge not, lest y'all be judged.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe in that at all, because if say you're with your friend, right, and they say, here, steal this piece of bubble gum, and you do it. Well, from that point on, that friend will know that you are a thief. Whether he was in on it with you or not, he's your best friend. You will be known as a thief to that person, and society will recognize you as that. It will pick up on you're a thief, and so judging people is a good thing. I mean, and the littlest judgments on people. So you don't want to be judged as a thief. You don't steal anything. You don't want to be judged as a liar. You don't lie. You don't want to be. You want to get along in society.
Yeah.
You do things that are good for society.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point. I mean, there's a difference between simply, well, I don't know. I mean, I think people will quibble over definitions. They'll say, well, that's not judging because you're just recognizing a fact. But a lot of people that judge others think that they're just recognizing a fact, right? I mean, take a racist person, right, is operating from an assumption that it's a fact that the people of certain races are just bad, right, or substandard or something, right?
Right.
So they're going to think they're not judging because they think that they're just recognizing something that is unquestionably true. But I think you're onto something. I think that there is a difference between, judging in the sense you described, where you see something happen and you interpret that,
Well,
and if you're doing it fairly, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
but on the other hand, there's judgmentalism where, you're looking for excuses to
right.
Reach a certain conclusion, or you've got a prejudiced conclusion or something like that. That's not so good. I think, to some extent, the story of civilization is a story of human beings working out fairer and fairer ways to engage in reasonable judgments about one another. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Here's how I look at it. Karma. I don't believe in a mystical karma. I believe that karma comes from people see you as a good person. They treat you as such, and so you have good karma. I don't believe that there's a tit for tat.
Right.
You did something bad's going to happen to you. They're chalking it down. I believe good karma comes because people judge you as a good person or as a bad person.
I think that's basically what Ashley and I were saying about,
but I don't believe
ethics. But just like the spirituality word, I wouldn't use the karma word because I think it implies too much supernatural stuff. I'd stay away from it.
Carries baggage.
But I'm just saying that you can quibble about definitions and words and stuff, but you get the ideas across, right?
Yeah, I get the idea.
And also, if those council members would have walked out on somebody saying, "I just don't want to hear anything from a Jew or a Muslim,"
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you'd never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
We don't intend people to hear the end of this. We're going to keep on complaining because I think we have every reason to.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a good one. Keep it up, and you are brave souls. You have one, but, who knows?
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for calling.
Fools.
Yeah, that would definitely have been a much higher news story had it been walking out on a Jew saying, I can't listen to someone who doesn't believe in our Savior, Jesus Christ.
Right.
That would have been a lot bigger flurry than walking out on an atheist.
Well, someday people will recognize that, we're citizens too.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to Tracie. How you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Okay, what you got for us?
I just wanted to talk about the lady that called and said that those people had a right not to listen to, the atheist. A lot of people get confused about having a right to do something versus being immune from criticism.
Yes, very good
because
point.
you have a right to do it just means that someone can't stop you from doing it legally. It doesn't mean that nobody can say that they think you were wrong or unproductive or foolish for doing it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make that clarification because I hear that a lot. A lot of times when someone gets criticized for doing something, a lot of people will stand up and say, well, they have a right. And it's like, yeah, and people have a right to criticize it too.
Exactly.
You got to take the consequences of your actions, even though you have a right to do it.
Exactly.
You know, I can't come and beat you up for doing it, but I can sure say I think you're an idiot.
But you know, if and some of these rights, you got a right to walk away. But if everybody made that their policy, and everybody walked away anytime anybody else that could possibly disagree with them had anything to say, where would that get us?
Yeah, absolutely unproductive.
How is that a good thing?
Yeah, no dialogue, nothing.
Yeah.
And one other quick thing about the morality and kids' morality and teaching kids' morality. The way I look at it, if something has real consequences, then I should be able to illustrate that to my child. And if it doesn't have real consequences, then I need to ask myself why I'm telling them it's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
And that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for following. Yes, definitely a very excellent point that people have the right to do these things.
Yeah, and people have the right to comment on it.
Exactly.
So the rights go around and around and around, but what we really ought to be looking for is not just, how can we get away with what we personally want by exercising our rights. We ought to be looking at, what ought we maybe reconsider doing before we exercise the right.
Yeah, to do whatever.
For the common good.
Yeah. We have a right to have this show, and you have a right to call us and disagree.
Yeah.
We encourage that here. Let's go on to Stan. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Really like your show.
Thank you.
I'm just I'm coming from a theist point of view, but not necessarily having anything to do with the Christian world as you see it today. So, but my point is with you guys is you've kind of created again the same thing that you're against in a way, because it's almost like, and I won't use the word religion, but it's almost like a group of people who are supporting an idea about a God or the lack of one. And from your viewpoint, you do kind of look down on people who believe in God, because I've seen some of your commentaries where you'll talk about the news and how Christians do some pretty dumb things. And you're right, there's a lot of really hypocritical things out there to feed on, and there's plenty of fuel for that. But on the other hand, if you looked at the scientific world, there's been a lot of crazy kind of ideas and things that have been kicked around that you could make fun of too.
Sure.
And you guys are basically, your God is kind of science, with Darwin's your Bible, and
not quite.
It's really creating another concept of the world for people to join in with you together.
But there's a very big difference there. When you look to science, there is no head figure in science who you question or who you just unquestionably follow. Regardless of what's said, you follow that. Science doesn't make any argument saying, here's how you should behave, that you shouldn't kill people. Science doesn't make anything like that. That's not its business. Science is here to say rocks form because this. If you drop something, it's going to go down. Here's how the physical universe works. That's what science does.
So it's limited in what it can measure.
Exactly. Science it also has a proven track record of showing us how things work in a reliable way. It's made its mistakes, it's had its failures, granted. But they were quickly weeded out, and we go back on and say, that's what we thought before. We thought the Earth was flat. Not quite right. We thought everything revolved around the Earth instead of the sun. Not quite right. We threw that idea out once we had better evidence. Religion doesn't do that. Religion says, here's how things are, and it will never change. Period.
I beg to differ there, because you'll find that what the Bible talks about. One of the things you talk about is hell is something that you find hard to understand a God that would do that, and that's really not in there if you were to take a deeper look at it. And that's a problem that I had with the Bible, but when I come and studied it again, I found that there is no place where people are going to burn forever and be tortured. It's going to be a place where you're thrown in quick and over with, and that's, I think, a reasonable thing for someone to be done.
Of course.
But you know, we can quibble over Bible interpretations, but let's not do that. Okay.
But you can throw things out as you learn more things about the Bible, and a lot of things as you learn, just like science advances, and people change their mind, and you can find that what was predicted in the Bible has just happened.
We're going back a couple steps here.
May I please respond to that point?
Okay.
I mean, I'll accept your interpretation of the Bible that hell is not a place of eternal burning, but like, you know, something else, right? Whatever it is, it works out better for Christians than it does for atheists, right?
Oh no, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No, I think everyone.
What was this whole fall of man and redemption through Christ thing then? I mean, what is that all about? If it's not about you join the club, you accept the special, you know, thing that Christ did, and therefore you get a better result than everybody else.
But everyone
explain the entire religion if that's not true.
People who never even got a chance to begin with to hear anything about the truth of what's going on will be given that first chance. So everyone will be given a fair chance, even atheists. People who don't believe in God, I think, will be given a fair chance.
Fair chance?
Yeah.
A fair chance?
Yeah, as in judged by God fairly.
And then if we were given the chance, right? Presumably, we live in a culture that is steeped in Christianity. Presumably, we've already been given this fair chance. And we've said, no, we think that's silly. So we get a worse outcome than Christians do, yes?
No, you're going to be
You're
going to be judged.
We're going to go to heaven anyway?
You're going to be judged for what you do.
Acts. Okay,
you're
that
a
kind of Christian.
moral person who does things, right?
All right. All right. You are aware that there are vast numbers of Christians who strongly disagree with you on a number of points.
There are a lot of number of points, and that's
you guys work that out amongst yourselves.
Just like you say about science, you change and things grow and people and things happen. You discover new things.
Yeah, that doesn't. When the basis of the religion is a particular,
Christianity doesn't change.
Sir,
it's stuck. You know?
When the basis of the religion is a particular book, right? And what's changing is not what's in the book, but the interpretations of what's in the book. That's not the same thing as what science does.
Well,
science. If you look in science books from 100 years ago, that's got different stuff. That the scientists have discovered a whole bunch of things that they had wrong 100 years ago,
right.
And they got whole new books. They throw out the old books.
Yeah,
Christianity's still using the same book.
Unfortunately, that is a big problem, and that was that's what
you go work it out with your fellow Christians. Then solve that problem and get back to us.
And that's what was warned against happening, a giant false religious world, and that's what we have. Unfortunately,
okay, yeah, you guys, we think it's all false. You guys, if you want to fight amongst yourselves about what's true and not true in your own religion, you go do that. But I want to get back to your very original point that you made, right? Okay. That we're doing the same kind of thing as religion. That we're forming up a group of people that have a certain shared idea. Where did we ever say we had any problem with people forming up into groups around shared ideas? We have no problem with that.
No, and I don't either. I mean, I respect you guys for doing that.
And you know, the difference between us and Christians is not that, you know, they form groups and then we sit around criticizing them for forming groups. The difference is they believe some stuff for which we think there is insufficient evidence to justify believing it. That's it. That's it. And on that basis, we're different. I mean, you can say because there's structural similarities that it's human beings under a roof having conversations about something they all agree about. Okay, but that's a pretty shallow comparison. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Yeah, and as far as looking down on religious people, a comment was made about that. We typically don't look down on the people. We may not agree with their ideas. We have big disagreements about this whole idea of a God, heaven, hell, whatever. We respect their right to believe that, as crazy as it may seem to us.
Yeah.
But they have those rights. Go for it.
I hold off on judging the individual people until, like, I've had actual discussions with them.
Exactly.
And if they're like just
completely irrational,
or intentionally, ignorant, and they are fighting to remain that way, then I might have an opinion about that individual person.
Yeah, but
I feel that way about a person who is an atheist. And I've met atheists like that.
Yeah.
It's not reserved for Christians.
All right, we have got 25 minutes left. The phone number is on your screen, and this is the Atheist Experience. Also, just want to remind our viewers, we do have weekly meetings every Sunday at Crescent City Beignets on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar. Those start at 11:30, and again, any atheist-friendly people, you're more than welcome to come on down, meet some of us, and have a couple donuts and some coffee. Anyway, let's go on to more callers. We have got Evan. How you doing?
Hey, my name's Evan. Just watching the show, enjoying it. Wondering, do you guys believe in anything agnostic at all? Like any power?
Believe in anything agnostic?
Believe in agnosticism?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Sorry, it's been a long day.
I have a favorite definition of the difference between atheist and agnostic, if you want to hear that.
I would love to.
Okay. This is from a book called... it'll come to me later. I can't remember. And this is coming from a guy who's an objectivist, which I don't agree with. I'm not an Ayn Rand objectivist type. But he made I thought, a very useful distinction between atheists and agnostics. Okay? Atheism and theism are terms to describe what somebody believes, right? An atheist doesn't believe in a God, and a theist does believe in a God. Gnosticism and agnosticism are about what you know, okay?
Right.
An agnostic is somebody who at least says that they don't know if there's a God or not. An agnostic is someone who says that they know that there's a God.
Right.
Right? Or that they know there isn't. I guess you could have a Gnostic theist who claims that they know for sure.
Right.
That means that it's not as people normally consider it, like theists, agnostics, atheists, right? Three different levels of belief about the same thing. There's four kinds. There's Gnostic theists, who believe and claim to know. There's agnostic theists, and there's a lot of these in my experience. These
Most people would claim to be.
People who believe but admit that they don't actually know. Then there's Gnostic atheists, as I just discussed, and agnostic atheists who say, I don't actually know, but I don't believe.
Right.
See? That to me sorts it all... Huh?
I said I might be under that category then, I guess. I'm just trying to figure things out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most people fall into the agnostic category. Most of the religious people, they admit that they don't know for a fact. They can't prove God exists, but they choose to believe. I can't prove God doesn't exist. I don't know it for a fact.
So are you guys more into the scientific aspect? Is that what causes your beliefs on atheism? Like, is it science or
lack of belief?
Lack of belief. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I would say reason rather than science, because reason is just a specific, or science is just a specific application of rational thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we haven't seen any good solid evidence out there that a big supernatural universe-creating entity exists. Therefore, no reason.
So you wouldn't believe in reincarnation or anything like that. You basically just have a lot.
Again,
don't see the evidence.
Haven't seen any evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I make this even more complicated for you?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I also don't like to, once I've gone from 3 labels to 4 labels because I think that's clearer. But I also don't like to just pick one of those labels and say that's what I am.
Right.
Because say I was to visit some South Seas island, and I meet the islanders, and they take me to their village, and they've got a totem pole, and they say that's their God. I see it right there. I can go up and rap on it with my knuckles. That God exists, right? Now, if they start telling me he makes the rains come, I probably will disagree about what his actual superpowers are. But
Exactly.
As far as that God is concerned, I am a Gnostic theist. I know for a fact that God exists.
It's right.
So I reserve the term to the particular God we're talking about, right? And what I find is that a lot of Christians. I think it's pretty easy to disprove the Christian God if you go specifically by what's literally written in the Bible, right? There's this great thing called the problem of evil that makes it logically impossible for the Christian God to exist.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go into that some other time. But
cool.
But a lot of Christians then just start backing away like mad, like that previous caller was doing, I think. Right. Backing away from like mad from what the Bible actually says and turning their God into some amorphous, magical something or other that exists in the universe that you can't put your finger on.
Right.
That doesn't really do anything for certain that you can know, and making it impossible to know anything about it, right?
Right.
So that all you can be is an agnostic. But I'm an agnostic atheist when it comes to that God, because I still don't believe in it. Why should I?
Right, that's it. Okay. Well, thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Have a good one, you guys.
You too.
Tim. All right. Let's go on to more callers. We have got Carl. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Okay, what you got for us?
Hey, what do you think about people who give Bibles outside of schools?
Outside of schools. Is this like on school grounds during school hours?
Well, just like after school when kids are going to the buses.
In the general idea of somebody promoting their ideas, I don't have a problem with. Now, if it's a public school that actually gave them money and said, "Here, come and give it to our kids," that I've got issues with. But we have a TV show here to get our ideas out there and to express our ideas on the world and our beliefs. That should be allowed. If somebody has a Bible and they want to say, "Look, here's my beliefs and here's what I think of the world," and they want to give that out, go for it.
As long as they're not breaking any rules.
Exactly.
Right? As long as a Hare Krishna can come up to those same kids at the same time with his books about whatever their gods are called. I know there's several and all the names escape me at the moment. As long as they can do it too, sure, fine. Then nobody's breaking any rules.
Yeah, I see. And do you think God hates midgets?
It's one of those calls.
Yeah. I don't know who this was. I want to say it was a group called the Knights of Ba or something like that. A couple of years back.
That was on campus?
Yeah, I heard about this. I haven't actually seen it, but I heard about it on campus. What they actually did was they had a Bibles for porn table. And you could go in and trade in your Bible and you got free porn for it. So as long as the people handing out the Bibles don't mind them having their table, go for it.
Yeah, it's free speech.
All right, let's go on to Christian. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I had a question in reference to the caller that was quoting the Bible stuff. I thought it was silly myself. But he was mentioning something that I thought was kind of neat about the priesthood and within the science. And you got people that are going to like parapsychology, and they get their groups together to where they convince everybody in America that it's okay to send your kid to a place where they get a mental hospital, to where they go through all these chemicals and get into that stuff. But they portray themselves as scientists, saying that this is a good thing for people. And there's
just out of curiosity. Do you have a religion?
Not really, no. I'm pretty much I'm atheist. But I guess, to me, it goes, that's one question that you can answer, how do you really feel about it? Either you believe or you don't believe. Then for me, it's a little bit more political.
A bit unclear on the question, though.
I'm sorry, what?
I guess I'm a little bit unclear on the question. Now, if you're saying that some scientists have done bad things in the past, I'll agree with you on that.
Okay.
Everybody's messed up. Every field has messed up at some point. But you shouldn't say that all science is therefore bunk. And
right,
I don't think that's what you're doing. No. But some have.
Yes.
But I guess what is your question?
Do you agree that there is within science aspects that are very similar to power structures in hierarchical religions?
Very similar? No.
No.
Slightly similar? Sure. I mean.
Okay. Example. within religions, you've had the witch trials, which is also sort of a science, because that's when doctors killed a bunch of people because they were natural healers were the ones that were giving birth and giving medicines from herbs and whatnot.
Okay.
And the science kind of joined forces.
Scientists. The witch trials were not scientists.
Yeah, that was Christians.
That was Christians.
Yes. But they also got rid of the people who were doing it, and then all of a sudden the doctors came in and start to take care of the women during pregnancy.
You're claiming that the Salem witch trials were driven by science?
Not just the Salem witch trials. You're also the Inquisition was also about witches, and that was a lot.
And that was driven by science?
It was.
No, I think you better check your history book, sir.
Yeah, that was Christians who basically would bring these people up, and that there were mystics and witches,
but it also created a priesthood of scientists after the fact.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have not heard of anything like that before.
No, no. I'm sorry. Science didn't get a big boost from the Salem witch trials. That's just not.
No, and I wasn't saying science itself. Now, if you're talking science as just the idea of accumulating knowledge, I agree with you 100%.
I'm talking scientific institutions did not get a big boost because some Christians burned some women at the stake and crushed guys under rocks in Salem, Massachusetts in the 1700s. That's just nuts. I think you better go check your history books.
What about the Inquisition, though?
What about the Inquisition? That was the Catholic Church,
Same
dude.
thing.
You're suggesting that the institutions of science got a leg up because the Catholic Church went around killing witches? Are you nuts?
Certain sects within the science, particularly doctors, physical doctors.
Do you have any documentation as
the same medical science that you're talking about claiming got a big leg up because of the Inquisition?
Within the
that's the same guys that's the same guys that were having to hide from the church when they were doing autopsies of bodies when the church said that was illegal. That's how they learned a lot of stuff about how physiology works and stuff, about anatomy. No, that's nuts.
Basically, there was no eliminated a completely different strain that wasn't even Christian at all.
Huh?
There was another. The Christians did the horrible things, right? But when doing that, they had eliminated a strain of thought on medicine and the idea of how human beings work within the environment in which they live.
What strain of thought are you talking about?
I guess you could say it paganistic.
Oh, I get it. So you're a New Age wacko.
No, come on.
Well, dude, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm familiar with alternative medicine quackery. And no, you guys. A
lot of it is.
I don't want to include you in this, but the problem we have in this country is that some believers in certain alternative therapies got laws passed in Congress that made it so that untested stuff like homeopathic nonsense could get onto shelves in drugstores disguised as medicine.
Pharmaceutical companies do that as well.
Yeah, and so of course there's money in it, so the pharmaceutical companies are after it. What ought to be happening is that all medicines ought to go through rigorous scientific testing, and that's not happening, and that's a bad thing for our country.
That's another thing. The whole pharmaceutical industry is put off as if you're helping people with medicines, but
the industry is going to do whatever it can do to make money.
Yeah.
It's not the industry's responsibility to make sure that the medicines that they sell are effective. That's the responsibility of the FDA.
Right, which gets paid off. A lot of stuff gets pushed through and some stuff doesn't.
Yeah, and does not help that we have this huge movement of people who want nonsense sold as medicine. That's just playing into the hands of pharmaceutical companies so that they can sell utter crap as medicine.
Look at it this way. If somebody figured out, how to cure cancer by, drinking homeopathy oak leaves, do you not think that people would be all over that, climbing over themselves to make money on that? Of course they would. Just saying that it's some kind of cabal of the FDA and the government conspiracy to keep that out of the hands of people is ridiculous. If there's actually knowledge out there and something actually works, then it should be out there and probably will get out there.
True.
Let me give you a for instance.
I agree with most of everything you're saying.
Let me give you one for instance, okay? You ever heard of St. John's wort?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what your opinion of it is, but you would agree it is a popular alternative medicine.
Yes, I've heard it mentioned a few times.
You know what the history of St. John's wort is?
No, I don't use it. So.
St. John's wort is sold as a thing that you take to deal with stress, mental problems, laundry list of mind-related things. Mm-hmm. In the Middle Ages, people used to take St. John's wort, and ingest it to deal with their problems. They would nail it up over the door to ward off demons. That is the justification for St. John's wort now being used as a medicine you take in your body. Because ignorant peasants used to nail it up under doors to keep demons away. That's not an isolated example. So, thanks for your call.
Okay, thanks for calling. Some of this New Age medicine and homeopathy is really wacky. I know.
And Christians take note. We will also criticize things we don't agree with that happen to not be religious.
Exactly. I think it was a couple weeks back they had that homeopathy suicide by
yes, by Belgium, I think.
Yeah, something like Belgium or whatever it was.
It was a nation in Europe.
Exactly.
That passed a law enabling homeopathic cures to be sold in that country.
Yeah.
And some concerned rationalists got the press together and they engaged in a homeopathic suicide where they took poisonous substances prepared the way that homeopathic medicines are prepared.
Which is basically dilute the hell out of it. So
until
essentially that's what homeopathy is.
To the point where in many cases it is unlikely that a single molecule of the supposed active ingredient even exists in the medicine anymore. Yeah. And they went and drank these in front of the press as a protest to their government allowing the sale of nonsense medicines like that. It was beautiful. Just beautiful. And by the way, none of them died, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, so... All right, a couple minutes left on the show. Let's go on to our last couple of callers. We have got Mike. How you doing?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I was calling about the guy who called earlier saying that the Bible says the way to heaven is 2 good works or good acts.
Yeah.
And he is correct. There are some passages that say the only way to heaven is 2 good acts. But there are also passages that say the only way to heaven is through believing in Jesus Christ.
That's right.
There's also a passage that says that our destiny is preordained, basically. And there's nothing we can do to affect it.
Yeah.
There's also a passage that says that God selects who he wants to come to heaven. So it's not a matter of, people changing their opinion. It's just people selecting different passages that they want to believe.
Right. Yep. Instead of, was that the guy going after science and instead of picking one of those things and saying, that's our religion. Our religion is that, the condition X applies to whether you get to heaven or not, right? Instead of just picking one, editing the darn book so that it only contains that one and moving on.
Right.
No, instead they split up into a zillion little cults.
Right.
Yep.
And
big book of multiple choice.
And as far as, teaching morals, I always teach my kids, basically, don't lie, don't steal, treat people the way you want to be treated, which is basically the golden rule, but which was in existence way before Christianity, which is known as the ethics of reciprocity.
Yep.
Confucius thought that you treat other people the way you'd like to be treated. And, civilization has gotten along fine. Christianity has only been around for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Morals didn't start then. We had them before then.
Yeah.
So you don't need it to get through with life.
Exactly. So
that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for calling.
All right.
Be nice if a few more people recognize that fact. So... All right, a couple minutes left on the air. I guess we could do this quick news story that I found. End on a humorous note.
Sure.
This is one, Iowa City. The Bible has told Christians for ages not to worship both God and money, but now maybe you can.
Except for the prayer of Jabez.
Yes. Yes,
but okay,
all the books out there.
Just the exception that proves that the Bible is full of contradictory stuff.
Exactly. A new credit card featuring the Calvary's 3 empty crosses begs the question, what's in God's wallet? Family Christian stores nationwide are offering the new MasterCard MasterCard. With an image some Christians say their master wouldn't approve being on a charge card. Stone said she's heard a few comments, both positive and negative, from her customers.
Oh, he's not, though, is he? Is he on the middle cross? It sounded like there were empty crosses.
They're empty.
So he's not there.
That's true. The master is not there. The master is not there. Good point.
To be fair.
Good point. Store customer Rusty Paterno believes all our money came from God to begin with. I think it's a great idea. It's a great witnessing tool. In God We Trust is already printed on the American currency.
Oh, great.
And many people have Christian symbols on their checks. So, raises the whole idea.
Can I get really technical? If you believe in an omnipresent God, then that God is on all the money and all the credit cards that have pictures on them, because whatever the picture is of, God's got to be there because he's omnipresent.
Exactly.
Technically.
But this also brings up the idea, going back to morality and such, of Christianity being, what we've said before, has been a blank check. As long as you can believe that Jesus died for your sins, then everything's forgiven. You're okay.
Yeah.
Now you've got, well, a Christian bank card.
Aren't Christians aware of the number of people, just in the last couple of years, the number of people who have been arrested and convicted on affinity fraud for basically taking advantage of Christians by saying, I'm a Christian too, so trust me with your money.
Exactly.
That's what a Christian credit card is saying.
Yeah, there have been a lot of businesses
Trust
out
that
there.
my credit is good, because I got crosses on my credit card. Yeah, that proves a lot.
Yeah, there have been a lot of preachers and whatever that have been convicted of basically taking millions of dollars from their parishioners on investment schemes and such like that, just because I'm your pastor, I'm religious, you trust me, of course, so give me your $40,000 and I'll show you how to invest it correctly.
We'll pray over it, and that'll guarantee that you'll make money.
Exactly.
Which it doesn't.
Yeah, so...
We've just about finally put to rest the whole medical power of prayer. Can we start working on the financial power of prayer? Examine that and put that old wives' tale to rest as well.
Yeah, that Prayer of Jabez book, that's gone down in popularity a little bit.
Huh?
Luckily, it's gone down in popularity.
Has it? Good.
Well, I haven't heard as many stories out there, but I know on the news that was just everywhere, that these books are selling so fast. Just if you just sit down and pray for a little while, then you can get anything you want.
The loophole of Jabez.
Yep.
We found the part in the Bible where if you spin it a certain way, it sounds like you can just ask God for stuff.
And you'll get it. So,
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Hordes of people praying for money, praying to win the lottery, praying to get their house in the Jamaicas.
It would help us a lot as atheists if you Christians would just be a little more careful about the shenanigans you try to pull within your own religion, because the whole don't be greedy, don't pray for things for yourself, pray for world peace, that kind of stuff. That's actually, even though we don't think the prayer works, at least we think your heart's in the right place. But when you just want stuff, well, then what are we supposed to think? Amazing.
Okay, well, it's been another good show. Thank you very much for coming on and helping out.
Thank you, Ashley. It's always a pleasure.
Yep. Again, everybody, we have bagel shop meetings. Not anymore. Right. We meet at Crescent City Beignets. The Atheist Community of Austin meets at Crescent City Beignets, which is at 1211 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar and 6th Street. That's every Sunday at 11:30. Except for the third Sunday of the month, we have our lecture series at the Austin History Center, 9th and Guadalupe. Anybody wants to come down to our meetings, again, atheist-friendly people, you're more than welcome to do that. Next week, we're at the Austin History Center, and we will be having Shannon Raw come in to talk about the votes that are being done on the health textbooks that are being reviewed this year. That's something that a couple of our members have actually testified on, because essentially the health textbooks that are teaching our teenagers how to be healthy people is saying, don't have sex, condoms don't work, birth control doesn't work, nothing works. If you have sex, you're going to die. Period. End of story.
What? It doesn't
Not
say
exactly
that.
Well, pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Saying nothing else works, abstain only. Anyway, have a great weekend.
And it'll be just like listening to that atheist in Florida.